Well, fishing don't get any better than this. The famous River Trent, and I'm at Burton Joyce. Years and years and years ago we used to come here every weekend. It was a famous stretch. This is the row stretch. There's about 50 pegs along here at which you can fish on every peg. And today we've come down to catch some bream. And we've been a bit lucky, there's been rain for 2 days, it's coming up, there's about 18 inches of water in, and the water's getting coloured. And I've had 4 or 5 already. And I've had them up to £6, great big things, beautiful golden bream they are. But this to me is the best part about fishing, river fishing, trying to catch some big fish. It don't get any better than this. So what I'm going to show you is my tattle, the tattle that I use. I'm going to show you the baits and everything like that, my whole setup, how I'm organised, how I'm comfortable and everything like this. But trust me, fishing don't get any better than this. The River Trent catching bream, it's just perfect. Well, we've had some little ones up to £5, but I think this is a bigger fish, this one. Let's have a look at him. Oh, he's a big boy. Oh, look at him. Oh, ah. Oh, 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 oh. Look at that big boy. Oh. Look at that beauty. That's nearer 7 than 6. Woohoo! Look at that. That's immaculate. That's absolutely as perfect as you can get a bream, that. I reckon that's £6.5. It's nearer 7 than 6. And that's what we've come to BJ for, to Burton Joyce. What an absolute belter. That fish alone has made my day. Goodbye, here we go. Nice bream. Oh, I think this is one of them big ones. Keep your rod up stream. If you catch a big bream, don't hold your rod up because it'll come into the side and under that big tree. So you've got to put your rod down and just pull it and let it swim with the flow. Just got to be a bit careful of that. All the weed inside. This feels like one of them big ones, this. Oh, it is, look at that. Oh, look at that beauty. A lot of weed. Oh, look at him. Oh. Oh, 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 look at that. Oh, get in there. Oh, that's a proper in that one. Oh, I bet that must be £7 to £8, that. That's huge. Oh, look at that. Oh, that could be the biggest bream I've ever caught. Look at that beauty. Oh. I'm just going to use discards on this one. Oh, you've got to show you this one. Calm down, mate, a minute. Look at that. That is absolutely fantastic. All right, you should have fought it water, shouldn't you? Hey, look at that. That's a Bobby Dazzler, that one. That's £7 of anybody's money, that one. What a beautiful Trent bream that is. It's a beauty. Woohoo! Get in there. Ah. Well, I don't need to catch another one because that's made my day. So what I'm going to show you now is the tattle that I'm using to catch that fish. When I'm river fishing for big fish like bream and barbel, you've got to have proper gear. It's no good having light gear where you're going to lose the fish. The river's flowing, there's a bit of extra water and you've got to have proper gear. What I'm using today to catch these bream, my rod is a 13-foot rod. It's a bit longer so I can keep the line out of the water so I don't get as much tension on the tip. They're coming 11, 12 and 13 foot. They're all under 90 quid, believe it or not. They're a fantastic rod, and today I'm using Reality Plus XS 13 foot. It's just a special rod for this kind of fishing, for river fishing. It's good for long distance carp fishing, but for river fishing it's perfect for it. Today I'm using the 13 foot. It's got bigger rod rings, more spacious, the line runs through nice and smooth. But also you want a big reel, you want like a 5,500 reel so you can play the fish, and you've got a bigger line capacity. It just makes life a lot easier if you've got a bigger reel. On that reel I use 8-pound line or 0.26, and I use the carp feeder mono. I just use that for most of my carp fishing, but I also use it for river fishing. And you might be thinking, £8 0.26, it's wild fishing. You could catch barbel, you catch big bream. You need something that you know is not going to snap when you hit the stones in the side or a fish tears off. And that's the line that I use, 0.26. The setup is quite simple. A river feeder, that's a 2-ounce model, but I carry them in 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3 and 4 ounce. Depends on the flow on the day. The flow's up a little bit, so I've got a 2-ounce on, and it's just settling nicely. I use a swivel boom, which is doubled up line, and it's just longer than where the feeder comes to, because it almost comes out away from the feeder and it don't wrap round the feeder. That's important. And the hook length I'm using, the hook length is 0.20. I'm not messing about, I'm after big fish. Don't put out lighter on. There's a bit of colour in the water, the river's flowing, they'll accept it. And I use a rig mono for my hook length, and it's 0.20. And the hooks I'm using is a Cantana 1115, a size 12. So I can put a big bunch of maggots on, 3 or 4 casters, or half a dendrobina, or a full dendrobina for that matter. Big, strong river hooks. So as you can see, all my setup is strong, it's made for rivers. If I get one of these big fish on, I don't want to lose it. I'm not going to get many chances. So make sure that your gear's geared up for river fishing for big fish. And if you use that setup that I've just showed you, you won't go far wrong. Right, what I'm going to show you is my setup for fishing at River Trent. As you can see, I've got a platform in where it's all set out, it's all nice and firm on the ground. I'm out in water a little bit because the river's up, so I'm trying to get to the edge of the weed. So I'll put a platform on, and then I can put my box on top of the platform. My box is the DS36, which is the best box I've ever sat on. 36 legs, and all my extras can fit to that. And as you can see, that just fits on the platform, and I'm nice and comfortable. It's very important. Anybody that knows me knows I'm right fussy about the setup and getting myself organised on the bank. So I've got my box on my platform, then I've got my 2 side trays. I've got my big side tray that's all free, there's no extra leg. Look how strong that is, it's as strong as anything. Where I can put my bait on and everything on that, my landing net's there in the position when I want to net my fish. On the middle leg, I've got my ground bait bowl. I also like the ground bait or the pellet bowl when I'm fishing a commercial on the middle leg, and that can go under the platform. But as you know, I love a back tray. Why do I love a back tray? Well, this is absolutely perfect to show it. I like a back tray because I can put all my extras, my feeders, my hooks, my flask and everything else that I need on that. So my bait is on my big bait tray. On my back tray is all my extras. I don't have to keep getting off and going to the bank and actually getting extra equipment to put on. I've never had a setup as good as that. I love that setup. My DS36 is on a platform. I've got my big signature bait tray, and I've got a bait tray as a back tray. And if I want to have extra rods and anything, I can put that on the extra rods. It's just a perfect setup. I'm as comfortable as anything. My keep rest in front of me. My rod rest is up in the air. I don't get any simpler, don't get any easier than that. I'm as comfortable as anything, and that makes a big difference to my style of fishing. While I'm off my box, I'm going to show you my bait that I'm using, and it's just a traditional bait, to be honest with you. I could use pellets and other products that these fish like, but I want to catch fish the natural way. So first of all is my ground bait. My ground bait is Super Crush Expander and 50-50 mix, 50-50 basically, just to give it a nice pellet based mix. But in that is going to go a lot of bait. What am I going to put in that? I'm fishing for big fish, I'm fishing for bream, so I'm going to put lots of bait in. First thing I'm going to put in, casters. Bream love casters, there's no doubt about that, and I'm going to put as many as I can get in my feeder of them. Then I'm going to put some dead maggots in that I've froze overnight and I've kept them in the freezer, and I'm just going to pop some of them in. Some lovely corn, of course. You can't go fishing for big bream and barbel without some corn. And then the one that I'm hoping to catch the fish on is chopped worm. Now, I've got some dendrobenas and I've chopped them a bit different. Because I'm fishing for big bream, I ain't cut them really fine. Like if I'm going carp fishing on a commercial, I've cut them really fine, and to make it in the water and everything, the juices. I've cut them up probably, if you get a dendrobene and cut it up 4 times, that's about as big as the cuts are going to be. So they're going to be hanging out the feeder and everything when I cast them out. And then all I'm going to do, in my ground bait mix, I'm going to put as many casters as I can in. Just mix them in a little bit, a few dead maggots, 3 or 4 bits of corn, and I'm going to get a little dob of worm, and I'm going to put that in the middle, and I'm going to get my feeder and I'm going to fill that. I want as much solids and as much bait as I can get in that feeder, because these fish are feeding. If they're feeding, I've caught some fish £7, they'll eat that on their own, no problem at all. Get plenty of bait in, plenty of solids on the bottom, for when they come in you can catch as many as you can. And that's my setup of my bait. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, it's pretty old school, but I think that's what the fish want, and that's certainly how I want to fish. On the hook is a bit different. So that's all my tattle, all my setup and everything like that, and all the bait that I've got. So what about the hook bait? Now of course the hook bait's the most important thing, because you want the fish to pick it up. But when I'm starting, I always start on 4 dead reds. 4 dead red maggots like that on a 12, and you cast them. One of the reasons for, you don't know what you're going to catch to start with, and really I want to pre-bait the peg. So I might have put some initial 4 or 5 balls in. I'll cast in with maggots, I might catch some smaller fish quickly, but I'm feeding it all the time. But the moment I get a sign or I get a bigger fish, that's coming off. And what I'm going to do, I'm taking 4 red maggots off, I'm going to get a big dendrobena, I'm just going to knock its head off, like that, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to thread it inside, like that, and I've got a big full dendrobena on. Trust me, a bream cannot resist one of them. And if you start catching on that, you're going to do well. And then all I do then, I've got my hook bait, I just hold it in my hand and I bring the feeder in, and then in my feeder I put a few casters, 2 or 3 grains of corn, a few dead maggots, not many, but then a nice dollop of chopped up worms. And like I said, them chopped up worms are like in pieces of 4. Fill my feeder, fill it like that. I mean, even I want to eat that, it just looks irresistible. But that is full of beautiful solid baits, and you've got that lovely fish meal based ground bait that's going to bring them in. Then what I'm going to do, bring it back, cast it out in position, break, plop, and let it go to the bottom. Now one of the things I do on a river, I always fish downstream. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to explain why. A couple of years ago I did a little DVD along this stretch, which was a little bit further up, and I showed you how to fish a stick float. And what I showed you was, when you fish on a river, you never feed upstream. You never throw your loose feed upstream, because you don't want the fish to come under the bait and you can't get at them. So you always feed downstream, run your float over the top, so that the fish are feeding below you and your float cocks into the fish's mouth. So you always feed downstream. Feeder fishing is no different. I always cast it slightly downstream. I never cast it upstream. Why don't I cast it upstream? One, you're against the flow. you've got more tension on your flow, you need a bigger weight on to hold it, and also the line is going directly through the water. I always cast slightly downstream. So when I get to my peg, I position and everything, and what I do, I look for a spot slightly downstream, 2 or 3 yards down from my peg, and I've got a big tower over there which in this peg I can cast to. So what I'm going to show you is what I do. And you can see that my rod rest as well is slightly upstream. I don't have it downstream, I have it upstream, so when I get a bite, it goes round and then perhaps comes back. So my rod is slightly upstream of where I'm going to be fishing, and I'm casting downstream, which gives a better tension on the rod. So all I do, I wind it in, I look at my bait, I check that my bait's all right, and in this case it looks okay. I've got half a dendrobina on. I just any rubbish on, because when there's a bit of water in, you might get a little bit rubbish. A bit of casters, dead maggots, corn, and some nicely chopped up worm. Just fill my feeder, and then what I'm going to do, fill it up, I'm going to look at my target, which is downstream. I'm going to aim down, I'm going to cast it in the position that I want, and it'll be different distances, cast, break. Watch it go down, and when it hits the bottom, what I'm going to do now, to get less tension on the tip, I'm going to feed off 2 or 3 metres of line. And what that creates is a bow. And that bow takes all the tension off the tip. I put the rod down nice and gently like that, and the line then will pick up, and if it starts bouncing like that, you can either back wind a little bit more and give a little bit more bow, or it might tell you you haven't got enough weight on your feeder. So if it starts bouncing like that, you might have to put more weight on or give a bigger bow. The idea of the bigger bow, it goes naturally with the flow. So because I'm fishing downstream, my line is going with the flow, so there's not as much tension on my tip. And then what happens then is the fish will pick my bait up, pull it, it'll go dink and drop back hopefully like that, or it'll just go like that. And the fish will be hooked and it'll hook itself. So that's how my setup is pretty straightforward. So just like the video that I did with the stick float, the feeder is no different. Fish it slightly downstream, so you haven't got tension on your tip, because if I cast that upstream in this flow, my rod will be bent over like that, and I wouldn't be able to slacken it off because there'd be too much tension on it. And I'd have to put more weight on, and you just don't get the same sort of bites and everything. Cast it downstream, a little bit of a bow, so the line goes with the flow, and I can put it in the rod rest, it's not moving, I'm sat there as happy as Larry, and I'm waiting for a bite. And that's all I do, it's a perfect setup that I like to do. Well, look at that. That's river fishing at its best. Look at the size of that. That's £6 of anybody's. That's beautiful, that. Well, I've had a fantastic day's fishing. Fantastic day's river bream fishing on the feeder, on the fabulous Trent at Burton Joyce. We've probably had 10 great big bream. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've picked a few tips up. And just remember, river fishing, when there's a bit of water coming up, you've got to have all the proper gear, the right rod, the right line, the right reel, the right setup, and get it all right, and you can catch big fish like that. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've picked a few tips up.